Hi beauties, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing a super fun and easy home decor DIY. I'm going to be showing you guys how you can take mason jars that you might have lying around your house and turn them into really gorgeous spring decor for your home. Here are the materials that you will need for this DIY. 3 quart-sized mason jars. They can be any brand. I just picked these clear ones up from Michael's. They run about $1.50 a piece. Flowers. Now I chose to use faux hydrangeas, but you could also use fresh flowers, whatever you have in the garden or lying around. The absolute best chalk paint ever. This is the FolkArt Home Decor Chalk Paint from Plaid. This is their ultra matte acrylic paint. You can pick this up at your local craft store. I love everything about this chalk paint, but particularly that it's super simple to use. So even for you painting beginners, it's a really great option just because there's so little preparation needed, no sanding, no priming, and it has fabulous coverage and it's really low Vox, so very safe for anybody to use. You'll need a paintbrush, and if you're going to be waxing, a waxing brush. And FolkArt does sell this really great kit that contains both a small paintbrush and a small waxing brush. Really great for kind of like small detailed projects like this or even stenciling. You will also need a finishing wax or acrylic sealer. I am using FolkArt's Home Decor Wax. This is just the clear version. A sanding sponge, or you could even use a nail file to distress. Twine. Paper towels and rubbing alcohol, and also just a work surface. You could use the paper towels as your work surface, or if you have painter's plastic or canvas. Okay beauties, so let's get started. The first step in your chalk painted mason jars is just going to be to give them a good cleaning. So I'm going to be using just some regular rubbing alcohol on a paper towel, and I'm just going to clean the entire outside of each of the 3 mason jars. And this is just to make sure that the surface is completely clean, and that way the chalk paint can adhere as well as possible. Okay, so now that our jars are completely clean, we're going to begin the painting process. Like I said, I'm going to be using FolkArt's Home Decor Chalk Paint. These are ultra matte chalk paints, so you're going to get a really nice chalky finish. I have them in 3 really great colors for spring. And you're just going to be applying these chalk paints with really any kind of paintbrush. So the first color I'm going to be using is FolkArt Home Decor's chalk paint in the shade Seaside Villa, which is a really pretty, almost like seafoamy green. So first, just take your little brush and just try to swirl the chalk paint around a little bit. Just make sure that all the color is mixed in well. Now, the easiest way to do this is to start with the rim of the jar first, then flipping it upside down and continuing painting with the rim facing your work surface. So I'm just going to start by lightly applying the chalk paint to the rim of our mason jar. You can see that it applies like a dream. Chalk paint is super pigmented. So typically it only takes 1 to 2 coats. If you want really a super opaque matte finish, sometimes it takes 3. It really depends on the color that you're using. I find that brighter colors like this and pinks tend to require less coats, whereas a white or a cream might take a few more. But as you can see, really easily, we've completely painted the rim of our mason jar. So now we're just going to go ahead and flip the jar over, and we're going to continue painting all the way to the bottom. And there's really no fine art to this. I just kind of work in a horizontal painting motion, just covering the entire jar. Chalk paint is pretty forgiving, and we are going for more of a rustic, distressed finish, so definitely does not have to be perfect. I think that's the beauty of this project. It's really simple. Anybody can do this. Alright, so as you can see, we are done painting the first coat of chalk paint on our mason jar. So I'm just going to go ahead and rinse my little brush out so that we can paint the other 2 jars. So for our second jar, I'm going to be using FolkArt Home Decor's chalk paint in the shade Lilac, which is a super pretty, like lavender lilac-y purple. Really great for spring. I think it looks great with the sort of minty seafoam green color that we painted on the first jar. a little tiny bit of this paint goes a long way, so don't overfill your brush too much because you can get kind of like gloppy goops. And I've learned this the hard way with refinishing furniture and everything like that. But even if you're like an instant gratification person like me, I'm very impatient. It is much better to have to do multiple light coats than it is to do just one or two super thick coats, because like I said, it gets really gloppy, it gets goopy. Trust me, in the end, you're gonna save a ton of time and your project is gonna turn out better if you just take your time. Now we're ready to paint our third and final jar, and again using the FolkArt Home Decor chalk paint in the shade Bavarian, which is a cream shade almost bordering on a light buttery yellow. So our mason jars have completely dried, and all three are now ready for their second coat. Good morning. It is the next day. I decided to let the second coat on all of the jars dry overnight. I definitely recommend that. You just want to make sure that they are completely dry before you start the distressing and sealing process. So as you can see, I've already started the distressing process on our Seaside Villa mason jar. Now to distress these jars, I'm just using, these are about 120 to 150 grit sanding blocks. You can pick these up at pretty much any craft store or hardware store. And what I did was, first I sanded here along the tops of the jar, just really like this, just get into it. Don't be afraid, because like I said, it does take quite a bit of elbow grease to get the chalk paint off. You kind of really have to scrub at it. Then I distressed here along the bottom, doing the same motion. How I did these was kind of just take my sanding block and just work in a swirling motion. And that just really helps to reveal the lettering underneath. I go ahead and continue distressing this jar just all over, and then I will distress the other two jars. All right, so once you're done distressing, just take a dry paper towel and wipe off any of the chalk dust or residue, and then you are ready to seal your mason jars. Now I'm gonna be using the FolkArt Home Decor wax. This is just their clear wax. You can purchase this at the craft store. You could also use a acrylic sealer, like a spray paint if you wanted to. Just pick something in like a satin or a matte so that it's not too glossy. So I'm just gonna be taking my little FolkArt waxing brush and swirling it in the wax. And then go ahead and wipe off any excess. And then I'm just gently brushing the wax onto the jar. Again, going horizontally because we painted horizontally. Basically just go over the entire jar with your wax. One good way to do this is to put your hand inside of your mason jar. It kind of makes it easier to just go around the jar with your wax. Makes the job a little bit quicker for you. Okay, so now we've waxed our jars, and in a few hours we'll be able to buff them down to a nice sheen just with a lint-free cloth, and then we're ready to get started on our next step. And we are going to be finally using our twine. Now you can purchase this also at the craft store, but we're just going to be using this to make kind of some cute little bows. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off a big long piece of twine. And we're going to find the middle of the twine and just wrap it around our mason jar. Just like so. I've wrapped it around about 3 times. And then I'm just going to tie a knot. And then if you want, you could leave it like that, but I'm just going to put a little bow. And then snip your ends off, and just repeat that process for all 3 of the jars. So now all of our jars have their twine bows, and they are ready for flowers. Now, like I said, you can use real flowers. You can fill these jars right up with water and put your fresh flowers in there. But just for today's purposes, I'm going to be using faux hydrangeas that I picked up at Michael's. So I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this. These are a really great idea just to add some fun spring Easter type home decor to your house. Also a really gorgeous and simple idea for your wedding centerpieces, baby shower centerpieces. Of course, you could do these really in any color scheme, so for any holiday or season. Love the little pop of pastel. It adds some Easter kind of springy fun to my home decor. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'm going to go ahead and put everything that you need to know in the description box down below, including all of the products that I mentioned. I'm also going to link my DIY playlist where I share lots of other DIY projects and home decor ideas that you can do yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope everyone's having a fabulous spring season, and I hope all of you have a very happy Easter. And I will see you all next time. Bye guys.